fantasy
So
football.
congested. There has never been a more obvious sell.
There's a huge edge to be gained by looking into things like this.
With the hype, it's only going one way. He's still too cheap.
How can you not love fantasy football?
With viewer here, I know that you do love fantasy football. I know that you want to make this Christmas even more profitable. And first off, I want you to have a good Christmas. I really, truly appreciate each and every one of you who've checked out this video and all the other videos we've done on the Sanctuary this year. It's been an incredible year for us. And I'm going to return the favor by turning these lights off before I give somebody an issue. But we are going to whip through a few players I really like and a few matchups this week. We're going to be pretty fast, going to give you all the facts, all the usage data, and why you want to be playing these guys, and give you some suggestions for how you can stack them and build around them in lineups this week and what sort of tournaments I'd want to play them in. So in the first game, it is Arizona at Chicago, 44.5 over under. This is one of the games that really looks nice to me. I think there's a lot of potential in this one. And they're both two teams which have decisions to make at the quarterback position. So these teams could both look very different next year. But for me, I lean slightly more towards Justin Fields. You know, he's $700 more than Kyler Murray. But what we've seen from him recently has been really positive. You know, when he returned from injury, he averaged 71% completion rate over the first two games before the bye week. And then it has dipped off a bit since. His accuracy hasn't been as good. But he played a couple of decent defenses. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, they're bottom three in both run and pass defense DVOA. They allow the 8th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. You can see here, this is the matchup data I put together for all our YouTube members in the Discord. And you can see they allow the 8th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They've given up 23-point games to both Matthew Stafford and Brock Purdy in the last couple of weeks. This is the kind of spot for Justin Fields where it should come easy to him. I want to play Justin Fields in cash games, like those double ups, multipliers. I want to play him in tournaments. And I think if you're looking at stacks, for me, this one comes back to DJ Moore, who's been on fire lately. You can see there his price is $6,900 this weekend. And then Trey McBride at $5,700. Trey McBride got it done last week against a tough Niners defense. Like, Trey McBride has been fantastic all year. And as Rich said in the Dynasty Rises and Fallers video, if he can get some positive touchdown regression, his ceiling can be even higher. Last week, he had a 100-yard game, his second one of the season. We don't see 100-yard games from tight ends all that often. So, yeah, I'm really high on Justin Fields, and I want to look at putting him in there with DJ Moore and Trey McBride. And if I was going to flip that and play Kyler Murray, I don't think you need to change DJ Moore or Trey McBride. They're the two pieces I'd want to stick to as well. We're going to whip right onto the next one. But first, if you are here, please do me a favor this Christmas and hit that subscribe button. We're trying so hard to hit 1,500 by December 31st. That was our goal when the season started. We need you to help us, help you, and hit that. And we will keep bringing you amazing content through the offseason. Next game, it is the Seahawks at the Tennessee Titans. And this just feels like a perfect situation for Geno Smith to return to the starting lineup. You know, yes, Drew Lock was fantastic on Monday Night Football, but now the Titans ranked 27th in pass defense DVOA. They've been particularly susceptible to wide receivers. And you look at the Seahawks as a team, and they're blessed with really good wide receivers. Last time that Geno Smith played, he was the QB1 overall, his best performance of the season. So I think we can look to be fairly aggressive in how we target this game. DK Metcalf is somebody who really stands out. The Titans, they rank 27th against the pass, as I mentioned, but against wide receiver ones in DVOA, they rank 31st. You can see over on the right-hand column there. They just struggle constantly against them. They've given up plenty of big games to players recently. And they also really struggle against slot wide receivers. Jackson Smith-Njigba wins the ball in an area of field. The Titans just don't defend well. They've allowed the 8th most fantasy points to opposing slot wide receivers. And it feels like JSN, even though he hasn't truly broken out this year, he's kind of surpassed Tyler Lockett at this point. Like, Tyler Lockett isn't winning downfield in the same way that he used to be. And JSN's getting nice volume. And sooner or later, he's going to have one of those games where it all clicks. As Rich in the chat says, fire up Geno. Yep, Geno Smith with double stacks here of JSN, DK Metcalf. I'm not sure you have to run it back with a stack on the other side of it on a bring back. I think if you wanted to, I don't mind playing Chigozie Okonkwo. He's had a reasonable couple of games lately. He's kind of definitely seen an uptick in the kind of receiving yardage that he got, like average over 40 yards per game over the last 3 compared to like 20 yards per game for a decent chunk of the beginning of the season. So there are definitely ways into it. I'm just not sure that I want to go super, super heavy on the Tennessee side of things with Ryan Tannehill set to start, perhaps. Moving on, Jacksonville at Tampa Bay. This game just got a massive arrow up. When Trevor Lawrence has passed the concussion protocol, now I look at this one and you go, okay, let's look at the matchup data. Down here at the bottom, the fantasy points to quarterbacks, both teams give up lots of points. Fantasy points to running backs, both teams are kind of okay at holding running backs in check, but wide receivers and tight ends, that's what I really want to concentrate for this one. I want to look at Mike Evans, particularly 7,600, and the Jags pass defense. It's beaten up. You know, they were missing Tyson Campbell last week. They were missing their safety as well, the starting safety. And they've been struggling to stop opposing wide receivers for a little while now. Mike Evans, he's scored 15-plus points in 5 of his last 6 games. He's seen at least 6 targets in all but 1 game since the Bucs' Week 5 bye. I think you could put Chris Godwin in there as well. I don't mind that at all. But I think I'm betting that Mike Evans is going to have another one of his big games again. And I'd be happy stacking him with Baker Mayfield. I think you can put Cade Otton in there as well. Cade Otton struggles to be relevant sometimes, but at 3,300, if he gets a touchdown, then that's kind of all we really need from him this week. And as you can see there, the Jags allow the 5th most fantasy points to the tight end position. Question, does T-Law being active change much? I really think it does, because the Jags, they're such a pass funnel defense themselves. You can see up here towards the tops of the columns, the Bucs even, their pass defense is 16th. Their run defense is, sorry, I'm reading out the wrong ones there. Their pass defense is 15th. Their run defense is 30th. So they're slightly better against the run. And I really think that this is a game which is going to be played through the air. And that's where we're going to see a lot of volume and a lot of fantasy points coming from. We'll move on to the next one. Ty Chandler, 5,600 versus the Lions. This game is the highest over-under of the slate, and I think we need to be figuring out different ways to attack this one. Ty Chandler is going to be the most chalky play on the slate, so it definitely isn't one where I'm like, okay, nobody knows about this, nobody's talking about it. But the reason we should be looking at Ty Chandler is because chalk running backs have hit so often this season. Whether you want to play Ty Chandler and then add some Vikings pass catchers as well, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, things like that, there are definitely ways you can approach it for tournaments. But in cash games, Ty Chandler feels like a complete lock to me. Last week in week 15, he had by far the most touches of his career. He had 26, total of 157 all-purpose yards and a touchdown, and he had 5.7 yards per carry. He absolutely knocked it out of the park compared to anything we've seen from Alexander Mattison this year. The matchup, it's not ideal. I mean, the Lions do rank 4th best in run defense DVOA. I'll flick back over to the matchup slide there. If you want this kind of data every week to help you make your decisions, hit the join button down below. You can join from like 99 cents or so per month. And we have so much content in there, which is exclusive to our members. We will absolutely get you set up to win. But the reason I'm not worried about the fact that the Lions rank 4th best in run defense DVOA, they've allowed their 2 biggest performances of the year since week 10 to Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler. So it feels like their run defense is slowly taking a step back at a time where it really shouldn't be. I will get on to the next one in a moment. We've got another question in the chat. Do I start Gus Edwards or Tyler Boyd in the flex? I would start Tyler Boyd there. I think the Ravens, if they're going to have success against the Niners, it is going to be through the passing game. That's where the Niners are most vulnerable. They give up points to wide receivers in particular. On the ground, they're a good team. And while I do like Gus Edwards, he's rushed for 3.7 yards per carry over the last 5 games. It's a player who, we've talked about consistently getting over 5 yards per carry for most of his career, and he just doesn't seem to have the juice at the minute. So hopefully that helps you. Good luck with that fixture, and hopefully that'll get you the winning in a championship weekend. Moving on, we do have the Cleveland at Houston game. And the player who really stands out, I think you can look at a few players in this one. Joe Flacco, you could stack him up again for another week. Like his 133 pass attempts in the last 3 games leads the league. Nobody else is over like 122. But what really stands out to me is Amari Cooper and David Njoku. Amari Cooper had 186 receiving yards in the last 2 games. And then David Njoku, he's had back-to-back finishes as the tight end 2 overall, as well as finishes a top 12 option in 8 of the last 9 games. The Texans, they'll have a 4th most fantasy points to the position. It just feels like the Texans, they're so banged up. They've really struggled for a little while now, and I just can't see a world where they can stop David Njoku. They allow the 4th most fantasy points to the position. You see down there, they've struggled covering tight ends. It feels like every week we can play tight ends against the Texans at the minute. And while Amari Cooper might draw a bit of coverage from, forget the name of the cornerback, the Texans, Derek Stingley, David Njoku won't see that kind of coverage. So Njoku is the player who I'd be more comfortable in cash, but in tournaments, I think you can look at those Joe Flacco double stacks. Like we've seen it over the course of the last couple of weeks. Joe Flacco double stacks have been enough to win people tournaments. It helps you save salary. And the reason we want to double stack a player like Joe Flacco is because if we're counting on him to deliver a tournament winning performance, for a player like Flacco, one of these pocket passers, it does mean that he's going to be in the pocket and he's going to have to get there through passing volume, which normally suggests that more than one player will get there as well. With dual threats like Justin Fields, when I talked about stacking him with DJ Moore earlier, he can have a narrow range of passing outcomes because he can get there through his legs as well with the dual threat ability. So the dual threats, it's a lot easier, but these passing quarterbacks, we definitely want to see them double stacked more often than not. I am going to get out of here on the back of that. That is, 5 matchups we've talked about where there's a host of players that you can really dive into. And if you want to dive into more DFS content, come on, join us at Fantasy Sanctuary. Hit the join button down below. Each week, I give you a massive write-up talking about all the best plays and what makes them best plays. I give you key matchup data. You'll get access to Rich's Dynasty content. And oh my gosh, you are not going to want to miss the amount of Dynasty content Rich has got planned in the offseason. This is his time of year coming up. The rookie guide is going to be incredible. We're going to have rookie mock drafts, all that kind of stuff. But I'll keep rolling DFS content here through till the Super Bowl. I really appreciate each and every one of you being here, checking it out. Leave a comment, leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we will get you set up to win this weekend. Have a great Christmas, everyone.